Hello, hello. Welcome back to the Money Hungry Mama podcast. I'm so excited because I have Morgan here today. Morgan, take it away.
Hi, I'm Morgan. I'm a brand strategist, brand designer. I'm also a mom of two and a military spouse. And I'm so excited to be here and chat with you today, Brittany.
I am so excited. So tell us, Morgan, what is your business called?
My business is Spect& Co. Creative Studio. So we do brand strategy, brand design, website design, some other little marketing things. I have a membership, I have a podcast. I do a lot.
That is so fun. Now tell me, how did this all start?
So I feel like I'm a little bit of a unique story in that I actually went to college for the thing that I'm still doing. I feel like especially in the online business space, everyone's like, "Oh, I went to nursing school and now I'm a copywriter."
Yeah.
Which is great. I love a pivot. But I went to college for graphic design and marketing and just thought that I would work in like an
Cool.
ad agency or an in-house marketing position or whatever for like until my 40s and then maybe I would freelance. And I did that. I got an ad agency job like right out of college and I made it 11 months and was like I can't do this for the
Wow.
rest of my life. So there was like some twists and turns and some other full-time jobs. Eventually that led me to starting my own business and now here we are.
I love it. And now how long have you been doing this?
So I started kind of like side hustling, I would call it, in about 2016, and then I took my
Wow.
business full time at the end of 2018. So it's been a minute.
Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
guys, we got a long one. This is so exciting. Okay, amazing. So you've been in the space for quite some time. What have you seen the biggest shift in marketing? Like what was working for you back then and what's working different now?
Yeah, I just did a couple of posts and an email about this.
Cool.
I don't want to say it's getting harder because I try really to not like buy into the like, oh my gosh, everything is so hard, like negativity. But I think buyers are getting smarter. So when I first started, I created a profile on Upwork and I joined some like business Facebook groups and started getting clients. Now, granted, I was charging a lot less and like I wasn't so niche down. So I was like, I'll just do whatever graphic design project.
Mhm.
So that did make some difference, but it was not that hard to find clients. And
Yep.
I feel like it's gotten progressively more difficult in that the market's just more saturated. So there are more options for people, which means that they're going to be a little pickier about
Yeah.
who they choose, especially when everyone started an online business like during COVID. And then it got really hard to know who actually knows their stuff and is legit and who's not. That I feel like sort of like eroded trust a little bit too. So now people really want like a referral from somebody that they know or to see like a lot of ROI in the way of like case studies and portfolio and stuff. Like they're doing a lot more research and they're a lot slower to hire.
Mhm.
So for us as service providers, that can feel like, oh, it's harder to get clients.
Yeah. No, I think it's so true. And I think we were just talking about this, like probably like a couple episodes before you, about how the trust is a huge factor now. Like, I mean, you've probably been burned. I know I've been burned. And it's like, I totally understand why there's such this trust factor of who can you actually go to
Mm.
and know that they're going to do a good job.
Yeah.
So, how have you kind of navigated that?
Yeah, and I think too, like, to add to your point with online business, we're so, like, separated from each other that
Hmm.
there's kind of less accountability, right? So if I
Hmm.
give you my money and you don't deliver or do, like, not a great job or whatever, it's not like I'm gonna, like, run into you at Walmart in a few days. It's not like you're doing,
That's
like,
true.
business in a small town with other local businesses where your reputation really matters. I'm never gonna see you again. So, like, who cares? So
Yeah.
that part I think is difficult also. What I am doing about that is I put a lot of effort into I say this all the time. I feel like I'm like rehabilitating my career field every time I get on a sales call with somebody because everyone has been burned by a designer. So that's something that I'm kind of up against. And then the other thing is that people have a tough time, I think, understanding like what brand strategy is and why it's worth paying for. So those
Hmm.
are kind of two like big hurdles for me. So I do a lot of education around that in my content, but I also just really, really, really try and like go the extra mile as far as client service goes because I feel like referrals have always been my best source
Yeah.
of new business. So if I really knock it out of the park for somebody, they're going to tell two or three of their friends. And then when those people come to me, I'm not having to like sell so hard, if that makes sense. So I'm big on your best marketing strategy is just treating the clients who you already have really, really, really well.
Hmm. Yeah, no, 100%. And I think, I think that's such a true case in point. Like we're talking about genuine and authenticity and going that extra mile for your clients. It's going to be shown and it's going to get you more referrals, which is huge.
Hmm.
So we're going to take your strategy brain and I want to ask you a couple questions.
Yeah.
What is the biggest branding mistake you see entrepreneurs make when they're just getting started?
That's a good one. I think when they're just getting started, I think the biggest mistake is overthinking it. Like, they
Okay.
want the perfect logo and the perfect color palette and everything to look super polished and professional and put together. And either they spend a lot of time doing it themselves, which is kind of, I call it procrasta working, like it's getting in the way of them actually doing the thing, or they invest a bunch of money in having somebody do that for them. And the problem
Mhm.
there is that like 99% of the time in a year from now, they're going to be like, oh, my business has changed, or my ideal client has changed, or whatever, something has shifted. And then they have to redo all that work and they've kind of wasted like a few $1,000s. So
Yeah.
I tell people not to invest in branding in their first like year and a half, because I think you're figuring it out, right? Like you don't really know exactly what services you're going to provide or exactly who you want to work with. And I think the best way to figure that out is to just do it for a while and create like a brand that is good enough that like you don't hate, you're proud to put out there, but it doesn't need to be compared to like somebody who's been in business 10 years.
I love that advice because, guys, I mean, it's so true. How many times do we pivot in that first year? And it's
Mhm.
like, I'm going to start. And maybe all of a sudden you're like embroidering t shirts. And by the next year, you're like, no, I'm going to stick with hats. And it's like, okay, well, now you have this like t shirt logo and you paid for all this stuff. So I think that is really great advice in literally living your life for a year and being like, okay, next year is going to be when you really decide what you're going to do. That is really fun. I love that.
Yeah.
So when we're talking about branding, how should we bring our branding to social media?
So I think the biggest thing for branding as it relates to social media is consistency, right? And that goes with everything, like not just 'cause it's
Mhm.
social media, but especially social media. People hopefully are discovering you on social media. So this is the
Mhm.
first time that they're going to see a post from you, whether it's like on your For You page or a hashtag or their friend shared it or whatever. So we talk about the know, like, and trust kind of cycle in branding. Social media is really big in that first know stage, which is why it's important to be consistent with your visuals as far as like colors, fonts. You don't really use your logo a ton on social media, but just visually how things look, the things that you're talking about, and like the way that you're talking and how you show up. So, for example, like I have a client who gets on stories every single morning while she's out walking her dog and drinking her coffee. Those types of things are what help people to immediately recognize your content, to know, hey, that's Brittany. You have to
Mm.
get through that no phase before you can start getting people to like you, and then, like we talked about earlier, ultimately trusting you. If you are not consistent with your social media, and by consistent, I don't mean like, oh, I post every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at noon. That's not what I mean. But like visually consistent. It's never gonna like cue to somebody's brain, oh, this is someone that I've seen before.
Mm.
So you're just gonna stay stuck in this, like, feeling like it's a new person every single time somebody sees your post, even if they've been following you for 5 years, because they don't ever recognize, "Oh, this is something I've seen before," so they can't, like, move along in that cycle.
Oh my gosh, I love that. So staying consistent with your fonts and your colors is huge. Not like, obviously everybody talks about the algorithm, but I love that thought of, you know, doing something so consistent so they get to know, oh, it's Monday. Maybe like
Mhm.
somebody's outside on the walk talking with their coffee. Like, let me go check what they're saying.
Yeah.
So true. Something you don't even like think about.
No, not at all. I have a friend who is like a proud minivan mom. And
Love it.
so like literally every time that I see a minivan now, I think of her, and she's like, and she has since rebranded and she like kind of worked that into her brand, but she was like, I didn't even realize that like that was a thing. So it's that kind of stuff that is not like, it's not a big deal. It's just like who you are and showing that consistently. Also, with the visuals, it is easier to be consistent and to make your post look the same every time.
Yeah.
Like you don't need to reinvent the wheel and start from scratch with every single post.
That is like the best piece of advice, actually. Like, it is wild because to have templates to like work on
Mhm.
is the best thing you could possibly do. That's the best thing actually, that is the tiny task for today. So that's so funny. Today is December 16th for anybody listening. So that is so funny. Okay. So if a mom literally has 20 spare minutes in a day, what are three branding tasks she should focus on to make the biggest impact?
3 tasks in 20 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
I would say do a very high level visual check of kind of all the places where you are. So social media, your website, like anywhere that you're using any sort of branding, and just make sure that it all looks cohesive. So you're not using like red in one place and purple in another. Like it doesn't need to be perfect, like I said, but it shouldn't be so different that if somebody lands on your Instagram versus their LinkedIn, they're like, is this the same Brittany? I'm not really sure. That's number one. Number two, I would say spend some time getting to know your ideal client. We can always get to know our ideal client better. So if you have somebody that you're working with that you really love, maybe just like ask them a couple questions about like, hey, what was it that made you decide to actually hire me? Or can you tell me about like what sort of transformation you've seen working together? I have a whole podcast episode and like a freebie about feedback questions. So we can maybe share that in the show notes. But I think
Yeah.
talking to your people is like the best thing that you can do for your brand and being like really willing to hear them. I know sometimes we don't like asking for feedback because we're like, oh, I don't want them to tell me
Yeah.
what they didn't like, and I get that, but for me, that has been the best thing in my like, I have made so many positive changes in my business and my process and my offerings and all the things because somebody was kind enough to be honest with me and be like, "Hey, I didn't really love this."
It's so true.
So, I know that was only 2, but I think talking to your people should count for 2.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's so true. I actually recently just made a Google form myself for my community, and I just asked a bunch of questions before the new year so we can switch it up. So I think even you guys listening, like if you just want to take a couple minutes and have a Google form right after you submit somebody's work and just say, "Hey, if you have a minute, I would love to get some feedback." And it could just be the normal thing that you do every single time that you are giving things out in your business. It's just like a, hey, quick feedback just to help me grow or whatever. I
Yeah,
think Google Forms are fantastic. I love them
they are.
and they work for me for
Yeah, and also, pro tip, go back to them again after, like, 3 months and ask them, "Hey, how's it going? How's your new website?" Or "How's your thing that you bought from me?" Or whatever, for 2 reasons. 1, because that makes them feel like you're taking really good care of them and you haven't just, like, forgotten after they gave you their
yeah.
money. But 2, the chances that let's say you are a copywriter or a social media manager and you did a package for somebody that was a one-time thing and then you reach out again, they're probably gonna have a question, and that question might lead to them hiring you again.
Yeah.
At least it's gonna keep you top of mind so that when they're on a coffee chat and somebody else says, "Hey, I really wanna redo my website copy," they'll say, "Oh my gosh, I know the perfect person. You should meet so and so." So don't yes, reach out immediately, but also that doesn't have to be like your last touch point with somebody.
Oh my gosh, I love that feedback. Like, I love that. I never thought, and personally, as somebody who has been doing business with different businesses for literally 10 years, that has never happened. I never had somebody reach back out 3 months later. I think that would be a great touch point.
Yeah.
I love that. That is amazing. Thanks for that.
Yeah.
So, now, how can somebody build authority early before they have the testimonials, a big following, or the polished website?
So I think that you build authority by just doing the thing and doing a good job of it, obviously, but that takes time, right? So if
Mhm.
there is any like experience, whether that's work experience or life experience that you can kind of leverage in like some of your social media content, or if you're sending emails to your list or whatever, however you're marketing yourself, if there's a way that you can kind of like weave that in to for example, I have a client who I'm working with right now, and she is a copywriter slash SEO specialist. Her particular niche of clients is like a little bit disorganized and scatterbrained.
Mm.
Is also a preschool mom. So she talks about that a lot in her content of like, hey, like I wrangle toddlers all day. Don't feel like you're going to be too crazy or too disorganized for me. Like I got you. So there's things like that that might feel unrelated, but if you really dig deep and you're like, okay, what are the skills I need to like do this job well? And what are other areas in my life where maybe I display those skills and kind of try and tell stories that weave those together, I think is a fast way to make people be like, okay, maybe she knows what she's talking about.
Yeah, it's so true, being relatable, like, just also implementing your real life to make people be like, "Oh, this person, like, really gets me."
Yeah,
Yeah,
100%.
no, that's awesome. Okay, brand voice. As you know, moms notoriously underprice themselves. What is your best advice for someone who knows she's charging way too little but is scared to raise the price?
Raising your prices. Every question you ask me, Brittany, I'm like, oh, I have a podcast episode about that. So I think there are a few things. First of all, it is, and I'm like, if people take away one thing from this episode, it is that it is of service to your client to be raising your prices. I'll say responsibly, right? So if you start out charging $30 an hour, or whatever. Like, that's fine. I think that's where a lot of us should start, depending on what service you're providing. However, I think if you stay there and then you're like 10 years into business, one, you're not going to be making enough money to like
Mhm.
support your family, do the things you want to do, whatever the reason why you started your business was. But eventually you're going to hit a breaking point where you're like, crap, I have to raise my prices.
Mhm.
And then to catch up to where you should be, you're going to have to like double or triple them. Versus if you had just raised them by a couple of dollars an hour every year, or if you have packages, then like however that shakes out. I think that it would be a big shock to you if you had a VA who was like, hey, I was charging you $30 an hour for the last 5 years, but now it's going to be 100. You would be
Yeah.
like, "I can't work with you anymore, like, I'm really sorry, but that's, like, not sustainable." But if they had kinda baby stepped it that whole time,
Mhm.
that wouldn't have been a big deal. So, I think that's rule number 1. I think number 2 is giving your clients a lot of notice. So don't say, "Hey, next month my prices are going up." Say, "Hey, in January, my prices are going up," and give them a lot of warning. And then think of some ways that you can kind of flex where if they're like, "Hey, that's not really doable for me," like, "Okay, what's maybe a smaller package I could offer them?" Or
Mhm.
some other way I could work with them that is still in their budget to kind of avoid losing clients from raising your prices, which I do also wanna reassure people that, like, that's gonna happen and it's okay. Like, you outgrow people as you
Yeah.
grow, and that's totally fine. But there are some things you can do to mitigate that, I think.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. I think it's so important because so many moms on this podcast, when we talk, the biggest thing is, oh my gosh, like, I don't want to be too expensive. I feel so bad charging people all the things. And it's like, it's so true to just be like, okay, maybe just do it step by step, baby steps, yearly baby steps, and
Mhm.
then trying to find like a nice, even playing field. I love that. So you are running this business. What is your favorite working tool that you use every day?
Well, I was just forced to get a new laptop because my old one died on me, so that's been fun, I guess. But honestly, I don't know, like, I now that I have kids, I work from my phone a lot, and I have a team who, like, helps me out with some of the heavier design work just so that I can make sure that we meet deadlines and stuff. But I'm doing a lot of, like, I, like, write emails from my phone, do social posts, like so I don't know, I guess phone and my laptop.
Awesome. So, what is one branding myth that you want to set straight right here, right now, that does not need to be a thing?
So, I don't know if I would call this a myth, but I really want people to know that you are never done branding. So I think people think like, okay, I'm going to DIY my brand in the beginning and then my business is going to grow and then I'm going to be able to afford the $5,000 designer and then I'll be done and I'll like tie a
Mhm.
nice little bow on it and never have to think about it again. That's like, I hate to break it to you, but that's not real. So, no matter how great your brand is, and like I've built a lot of really killer brands for a lot of businesses, you are always going to be growing and evolving and changing little things and adding things and realizing, hey, actually, like these 3 fonts were in my brand kit, but I'm not really using one of them. So, like, let's just remove that. Or I want to add a new accent color, or the name of my business is changing and I like my brand, but I need to revamp my logo a little bit, those type of things. So, the goal is not to like, be done and put it on a shelf. Also, that would get boring. Like,
Yeah.
after a while, it feels stale. The goal is to build something that you can grow and evolve and tweak and, like, flex along with you that does not leave you having to go back to the drawing board every 2 years.
Yeah. It's so true. I think it's so funny to like hear that because I definitely was that type of person at first that was like, "Oh, I could just spend this and then it's over. And then I never have to look at how to
Mhm,
design this website again. Like it's done." But it's so true. You just evolve as you keep going and the more you're in here, a lot of brands that I see now too actually kind of play on trends, right?
mhm.
Like a couple years ago, retro was super in or and you're just gonna have to keep refreshing certain things as you're going through 100%. 100%. What is I'm looking at all these questions and I'm like, "Oh my gosh, we have so many questions for you today." Okay, I like this one. Brand voice. Okay, so this is like one of the hardest things I think it takes someone to understand fully and give it their all. So can you give us a little lesson on branding voice?
Yeah, so my favorite trick for branding voice is to use voice notes. Like, if you're using ChatGPT for your content, for example, which, like, I do, it's okay. Don't, like don't get weird about it, it's fine. But instead of, like, typing, like, "Hey, I wanna create a post about blah, 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 blah," just there's hit the little microphone icon and just talk and tell it like, "Hey, use as much of my, like, actual language as possible," and it will kind of start to, like, learn the things you say and how you talk
Wow.
and whatever. So that's my favorite tip. But I think also I I think the problem is that people don't really have a good understanding of what brand voice is in the first place.
Mhm.
And they think that it is like your like actual voice, like the way that you talk, right? But it's also has a lot to do with like your positioning and your beliefs about things.
Mhm.
So I kind of try and think of it as like, okay, if your brand was like your friend, what type of things would they talk to you about? How would they say it? Would they curse? Would they put a ton of emojis in their text message? Would they be like I have a friend who like doesn't ever use punctuation and it drives me nuts, but like that's her. So like those type of things, kind of I guess your little like quirks and then how can you work that into your content and like do it consistently? But yeah, voice notes are the real MVP for me when it comes to brand voice.
I have never once thought about doing a voice note to ChatGPT. So that was like
It's the
such a
best.
great piece of advice. Like never once have I thought to myself, let me actually try to use this machine to help me with my brand voice. That's
Mhm.
so funny. I love that.
Yeah.
Okay, so you have a podcast called the Six Figure Brand Podcast. What
Mhm.
conversations do you wish more entrepreneurs were having?
I just wish that we would all kind of drop the pretense and be a little more honest with each other. I start a lot of my podcast episodes with, I feel like we don't talk about blank enough. So today we're going to talk about it. And I mean, that's everything from like the time that I've been like fired by clients or I've had to fire clients or I've taken 2 maternity leaves in the last 2 years, and my income has taken a significant dip, like, those
Yeah.
kinda things, and people don't wanna look like they're, like, failing or moving backwards or for people to think poorly about them, and, like, I get it, but somebody is listening that needs to hear that story and that is gonna be like, "Oh my gosh, me too, and now I don't need to
Mhm.
feel bad." So that's kind of the stuff that I wanna talk about is, like, yes, the aspirational of building a six-figure brand and the more tactical of, like, here's what your marketing needs to look like, here's what your brand should look like, all of that stuff, but also, like, it's really freaking hard, and I
It
think
is.
that we should just say that.
Yeah. No, it's so true. I love that so much. I think, we talk about smoke and mirrors on here a lot. And I think, when you get raw and real, and that's why I don't ask you guys questions before this or get to know you at all. Cause it's like, okay, like I really want whatever's happening here to just like happen. And I
Mhm.
think it's so true. We don't talk about, yes, we celebrate maternity leave, but at the same time, that does take a massive dip because you're not in corporate where you're getting a package or whatever. Literally don't get anything.
Mhm.
So I think that is so important. I love that. Has a listener ever asked a question that totally changed how you think about branding?
Not a listener. I've had clients ask questions that not really change how I think about branding, but definitely change how I talk about branding, I think,
Okay.
or like how I explain things to my clients, which is another lesson. And like talk to your people because you might be saying something in a way that makes a lot of sense to you, and your audience is over there going, "What on earth is she talking about?"
It's so true. So I taught elementary school before this, and it would be one of those things where like you stand up and you're like, "What don't you get?" And then it's like, "No, okay, I get it because I've done it for 87 years." I'm like, "But I have
Mhm.
to go and like piecemeal because it's so funny. Like you think of the parents that are calling and they're like, "I don't understand why they're not understanding this." And it's like because they never been taught it. Like you went to school, you get it. I
Mhm.
think it's so funny because it's so true. Sometimes like we just say things and then I'll see somebody's face change. I'm like, "You have no idea what I just said." And she's
Yep.
like, "No, I have no idea what you're talking about." I'm like, "Okay, let's start from the beginning." So I think that's such a great point. That's so funny. I love it. So you are raising how old are your kids?
My daughter will be she's almost 3, she'll be 3 in March, and my son just turned 1.
Oh my gosh, the thick,
Yeah.
thick. I have an 8, 4, and 2. I
Oh,
get it.
yep.
I
Yeah.
get it. So how do you balance everything? Do they go to like a daycare? Are they with you full time? Tell us.
Yeah. So my son is with me full time. My daughter is in like preschool daycare for 4 hours in the morning. So
Okay.
between like commute time, I have 3 hours a day and then maybe like an hour and a half of that. My son will
Okay.
be napping for now. So you just make it work. My husband travels a lot for work. So when he's out of town, I will work at night, like after the kids go to bed. And that's like
Mhm.
some of my favorite, most productive work time.
100%.
But really my trick to balancing it is I have a team that does a lot for me, and in exchange for that, I've had to take less profit, but it allows me to be home with my kids and be flexible and pause a podcast interview whenever my daughter comes into my office crying, so it's worth it.
No, it definitely is. I think, I think that's something that you need to sit down and look at your bank account and be like, okay, can I take this cut to be more present here? And then you also have to add in daycare, right? Like if he was in
Mhm.
daycare, that'd be a heck of a lot more money. And sometimes it doesn't make sense to do that.
Yeah. Yeah, and our daycare is they can only start once they turn 2, so I'm, like, counting down the days
Oh,
until he turns 2, like, don't get me wrong. But, yeah, and I think for me, it's also remembering that, like, it's temporary. Like, pretty
uh-huh.
soon, really, they will be both in elementary school, and I'm gonna be like, "Oh, I miss my babies." So, I
And
remind myself of that a lot when I'm, like, feel like I can't get anything done or I'm frustrated or whatever, that I'm like, it's gonna be, like, tomorrow that I'm gonna be so sad that I'm not spending every second with them.
no, it's true. It's so stinking true. The years go by so fast. And it's like in a blink, and you're like, how are you eight? Like, I don't understand what happened.
Mhm.
It's so true. So let's talk about burnout real quick because you're home
Yeah.
with the kids, you have this business. What are some tips that you personally have on burnout?
Yeah, so I had my burnout era long before I had kids, which I didn't know was really preparing me. I'm gonna try and give you the Cliff Notes version of this, but basically I took my business full time at the end of 2018. Between October and January, I quit my job, went to my first ever in real life business conference, which was like a huge deal, got married, went on honeymoon, and then moved from my home office into like a rented office that I shared with my husband. So that was a lot of stuff that happened in like 3 months.
Yeah.
And for anyone that's like in their 9 to 5 right now, I don't know if that's a lot of your audience, but and is like planning to make that transition, it is very exciting and also like give yourself some emotional space because I did not, and I did not realize, like, all of the feelings that were
Mhm,
gonna come with
mhm,
that, so that really caught me off guard. So did all of that, then January, I had kind of not been, like, marketing myself a ton because I had been busy getting married and vacationing and doing all these things. So business really slowed down. I hustled hard to, like, ramp things back up, and by July, I had had my first 10K month, I think,
wow.
which was super exciting. However, I was so busy and working so hard that I didn't even realize that that had happened until like August, whenever I finally like got around to doing my bookkeeping. I was having to like psych myself up for like an hour before I could sit down at my computer to do work. I was frankly like really dropping the ball on a lot of client work. Like it just was not a good time. I was having migraines all the time. My family did not like me. Like it was not good. So I let go of some clients. I hired some help. Things kind of worked out. Like I got through it. But I think now secret to avoiding burnout, honestly, first and foremost, is taking care of my body. Like eating well, exercising, sleeping, hydrating, all of that stuff. And then also being really real with myself about like what is realistic.
Mhm,
I would love to have 15 branding clients at a time, but like I just cannot do that right now. And I definitely can't do it well. So I would rather have my 5 and like really knock it out of the park for them, even if that means making less money or less
mhm.
impact or whatever, because I know that eventually I will get back there.
Yeah. No, yeah. Thanks for being so honest and real about it because it's so true. I think that's like another like scary space where like nobody really wants to talk about the fact that they're struggling or that it's a really hard time for them or what they kind of do to move past it. And I think I love that you said that you also like was taking care of your body. Like that didn't come to me when I was going through burnout. It was like, okay, like just survival mode. Like what am I doing to make it through to just like smile today? So I
Yeah.
think it's so true to like do this whole kind of self-awareness of what is going to work for you and make you feel better in that moment, but at the same exact time like you did bring yourself out of it. So for anybody listening that's in it, in the thick of it, you have two people here who have absolutely been in the thick of burnout and are more than willing to just, have a conversation. That could be even the topic that we talk about in the Free Money Hungry Mama Facebook group today. But
Mm.
honestly, I just think it's such an important piece to know that you're not alone because in those moments, it makes you regret almost everything that you're doing and question your life choices. You have to remember why you started this to begin with, and you will get out of it. I promise there's a light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And I mean, back to the kids thing, like I really lucked out with 2 pretty easy babies. So I have not had that experience as far as like motherhood goes yet.
Mhm.
But I definitely think that a lot of the things I learned during my business burnout have also helped to keep that at bay for sure.
For sure. For sure. I think it's just, everything's a lesson and stress is stress no matter what is causing it.
Mhm.
So I think, like, learning those things from whatever can transfer to the other. I think that's awesome. Yeah, 100%. Well, my favorite question. What does being a money hungry mama mean to you?
Yeah, so I have been thinking about this a lot in preparation for this podcast, but also I'm not like a word of the year girl typically,
Mhm.
just because I'm like it by like April, I've already forgotten what it is, and like I can't. I am not like I don't know, too short sighted for that, I guess. But I was talking with someone recently, and I was like, I think my word for the year is going to be profitable. Like I said, I have had two babies in the last 3 years, so I've taken a lot of time off work, and I'm
Yeah,
really excited to, like, feel good and get back into, like, a rhythm and start, like, making some good money again. So for me right now, that means, like, being really unapologetic about the fact that I wanna make a lot of money, and I
yeah.
think that's an okay thing to want. I feel like we, especially as women, get conditioned to be like, "Oh, that's selfish or greedy," or "You
Mhm.
should focus on your family," or blah, 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 whatever, like, me making more money makes my family's life better. And I think it's an okay thing for us to want that and to, like, be very upfront about wanting that.
100%. Like 100%. I love that so much profitable because it does so many things. It helps your family, but at the same exact time, like it also helps you create memories. Like,
Mhm.
for talking about, we just like found a Disney thing yesterday and my son was like, "Oh, like when do we get to go back?" And it's like it's so true. Like having this profit gives you more memory space, which is a beautiful thing as well.
Yeah, and whether that's going to Disneyland or it's hiring a house cleaner so that instead
Yeah,
of cleaning your house on Saturdays, you're taking your kid to the park, like, it doesn't need to
I
be a
love
big
that.
thing. But I hate it when people are like, "Oh, money doesn't buy you happiness." Like, "N no, not directly." I know a lot of people with a lot of money who are very unhappy, but it helps.
Yeah, like, I always think of Ariana Grande's song where she's like, the money part where she's like, they say money doesn't buy happiness, but they don't have any money to solve them, like, the
Mhm.
problems, and I'm like, "That is so true," because I know money would definitely make me happy if I had a chef in my house and a cleaning lady and a dishwasher because I don't wanna do any of those things. Laundry
Exactly.
person, like, 100%. It's
Yeah.
so fun. So what is next? What's on the horizon for your profitable year of 2026?
Yeah, so I like I said earlier, have, like, really shifted into this, like, brand strategy first
Mhm.
model, and I think I finally have nailed it. So I'm really excited to just, like, go do the thing now and kind of
Love
be
it.
done tweaking and shifting and building. I feel like that energy really comes with, like, having babies for me, is that I'm like, "Oh, I wanna spring clean my business." That I launched my podcast while I was on maternity leave, like, I wanna tweak and refine and, like, create all these new things, and now I'm kinda ready to just do and, like,
Mhm.
grow my business. So, I'm gonna keep going with the podcast. I have a new freebie that I just launched that's a standout brand audit that's, like, ChatGPT based, so I'm really excited to get that in
Oh,
front of more people and have them using it, hopefully do some guest speaking, but yeah, I'm just excited to feel like I have, like, a routine and a rhythm and all the things. We didn't talk about this a ton, but we're a military, so we've moved 3 times in the last 4
my god,
years, and we don't have any more moves on the horizon for a while, so that's gonna be
that's
nice.
amazing. That is amazing. I hate moving. I
Yeah,
give you
it
so much
sucks, especially
credit.
with 2 kids.
Yeah, I give you so much credit. That is amazing. I'm so happy for you. It's gonna be an incredible year, and
Yeah,
here you are already starting. This is gonna be out mid-January. This is your 2026 getting out there, profitable year, and you are going to absolutely rock it.
yeah.
I can't wait to see everything that you do. Thank you so much for being on here today, Morgan.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
Where can our listeners support you?
Yeah, so I hang out on Threads the most
Okay,
lately.
okay.
Second behind that would be Instagram. Both my handles are at spectand.co. You can put that in the show notes so I don't have to
Yeah.
spell it.
Well, thank you so much for being on today, Morgan.
Thank you. Bye-bye.